Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Greetings, dear friends, and gather round tight for a tale of TV full of awe and delight. I'm your host in a hat, a fantastical dream in the whimsical world of a classic TV screen. Now buckle up, folks, for a festive recount of how the Grinch stole Christmas. Of that there's no doubt. A tale of green mischief and holiday cheer and a magical world of old TV, my dear. So snuggle and snarfle and sip on your tea. As we dive into the world of some classic TV, I'll spin you a yarn, a Seussical rhyme, of the Grinch and the Whos in their whimsical prime. Now lend me your ears and your hearts, if you please, as we explore the magic of this classic TV. In the world of Dr. Seuss, where the stories are spun, those were the days, my dear friends. Let's have some fun. From Whoville to Mount Crumpet, we'll journey with glee through the tinsel and lights of this classic TV. I'm your guide in this rhyme, though I can't do it by myself. I need Whos and a reindeer, maybe even an elf. Pulling the sleigh with great cheer and a grin from ear to ear, it's Audie.
Hey, it's time for another holiday special. This time from Dr. Seuss, who made up words on the Kreschel. He made up all kinds of things, people, and creatures. It still looked like something you knew, but with features. And Dr. Seuss stuff is so suited for being animated well, you can pull off just about anything, like a small dog pulling that big sleigh bell. So let's talk about who's in their weird hair and clothes, and how Christmas affects us, no matter our happiness or woes. Let's come together and share everything from the first to the least, because I'm getting hungry. Slice me off a chunk of that roast beast.
He's going to take your entire stash, even the last can of Who hash. It's Steven.
I hate to break this, but I'm not going to rhyme. But I am going to tell you that they went digging through the Dr. Seuss vault of unused ideas, and I collected them here in my hands. You hear that? It's Foley work. So they had some different ways of describing the Grinch that just didn't make it, and I've got a few for you here that's been unearthed from the vault. You're an old shoe filled with guano, set on fire and kicked into a tar pit full of old dinosaur bones. Pretty intense. Mashed potatoes smothered in guacamole and sprinkled with ground up walrus tusks. It didn't hit right, I guess. Richard Nixon's grandmother's ashtray mixed with sour milk, old gym socks, and dog urine. That was at the top of the list, but they just weren't sure. And then finally, used lipstick on rye with turpentine glaze and Rasputin's armpit hair. It's the struggle to rhyme those things, I guess. Anyway, thank you very much. We're going to make sure those don't go into the adult edit, the adult cut of the movie.
Okay.
It's pretty gross.
And preparing the feast, because she makes the bestest roast beast. It's Amy.
So tonight we're talking about how the Grinch stole Christmas, but this leaves some unanswered questions. Now, the Jim Carrey version could arguably be called Why the Grinch Stole Christmas. When the Grinch Stole Christmas is pretty much covered all around, but not enough people talk about where the Grinch stole Christmas, the documentary about Whoville, and the scandal surrounding the appointment of the head of policy for the Mount Crumpet Forestry Commission, and his connection to the Whoville Christmas tree cartel.
Oh my gosh, is this going to be a real podcast? Because I am ready.
That needs to
It's on
happen.
Serial. Serial presents Where the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I don't even care if it's made up. I'll take it. Let's go.
Yes.
Brought to you by the New York Times and Squarespace.
And Mail Kemp? Chimp?
Mail Kemp.
So we are talking about Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the 1966 animated television special. And I want to go around. I want to find everybody's history with this. I'm going to start with Steven.
Oh man, do I love this movie. Like as a kiddo, you remember last week we talked about Emmett Otter and how it was one of those things I feel like should have been rolled in with the TV and the VCR in first grade, the last week of school.
Mhm.
This is the movie that was rolled in with the TV and the VCR in the last week of school. It was, I mean, it was a staple. I don't know how else to really put it. Everybody knew about the Grinch how the Grinch Stole Christmas, and I mean, it makes an appearance in Home Alone. You know, it was everywhere when I was a kid, and the
Mhm.
resurgence with the Jim Carrey movie. That was definitely why. Why did we do this? It was all over again, and I'm like, I love the Grinch. You know, it's good stuff. So yeah, I'm well known to me.
Audie, how about you?
Same. It's a Christmas staple, and it's one of those. It's one of those things where I don't remember not when I didn't watch it around Christmas time as a kid.
Mhm.
It's funny revisiting it now because it's like, man, that was only 20 minutes, huh? Okay.
I
Yeah.
remember it being
Yeah.
like an hour
Yeah.
somehow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but yeah, definitely loved it. And it's Dr. Seuss and Chuck Jones animation. Just yeah,
Mhm.
give it to me.
Yeah. And Amy?
So same, right? Like I literally do not remember a time when I didn't watch this, but here's the fun part, right? This is one of the Christmas specials that like we never owned it. Like I own it now on DVD, but we never owned it. We had like 2 or 3 VHS tapes of
Mhm.
like lovingly labeled of Christmas specials that
Hmm.
had been taped off of TV. And like
Yep.
Yeah.
my mom was real good and she would pause it on commercials. Like we had some primo recordings. But sometimes they did have the commercials, like the Campbell's soup one where the snowman kid comes in and eats the soup
Yep.
and then it
Hmm.
melts.
Oh
And then
yeah.
there's the one where the kid comes home from college, I assume, at like 3 o'clock in the morning and makes the pot of Folgers coffee and wakes everybody
Hmm.
up. Which
Mhm.
now I go, don't.
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
doing?
That's
Let
crazy.
No.
everyone sleep. They'll
Mhm.
be here in 3 hours. Like, just let them sleep. Don't make Folgers at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's rude. Um, but yeah, so this was definitely like on one of the tapes with like, Garfield Christmas and
Yep.
Muppet Family Christmas or whatever. Yeah, real good.
Yeah, I mean the same for me. I honestly do not remember a time where this wasn't watched in my house growing up every year at Christmas. I also had it on a VHS tape recorded off of TV, and that was during the time when it would be slightly edited on the television broadcast.
Mhm.
So growing up, I didn't hear the full version of "You're a
Right.
Mean One, Mr. Grinch." It wasn't until later on when I saw it again, where those parts of the song, which we'll kind of get into a little bit, were different for me because I just didn't grow up with certain parts of it. But this was originally aired at Christmas 1966. It was the first Dr. Seuss animated special, and it almost didn't happen. Actually, famously, Ted Geisel didn't want to do it. Chuck Jones came to him. And now Chuck Jones was the director of this. He had been working in animation for years, decades by this point, by 1966, with Warner Brothers and various other things. He and Geisel had actually worked together back in World War II on a character named Private Snafu for cartoons at the time, and they had worked together here and there throughout the years. And he came to him wanting to do the Grinch, and Geisel didn't want to do it because in 1950, I want to say it was like 53, they did a live action musical, the 5,000. What was it? It was like the 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, I think is what it was called, and it didn't do well. And he just wasn't up for making an animated version of his thing. And Chuck Jones was like, "Yeah, you are too. Shush," and started working on it and basically beat him down. And he ended up doing it.
The friend
Um,
everyone needs. Yes, you
Yeah.
are. Stop it.
Yeah.
We're making the thing.
and
Okay,
and
Ferris.
Yeah.
he changed famously. So the book, and back in the mid 90s, so it ran on 1966, and then it ran every year on Christmas on, I think it was CBS to start,
Do. I
from
can hear
1960.
the special
Yeah.
sound, then the
Hmm.
swirly. Do do do
Yeah.
Yep.
do do do. Yeah. All
Um,
right,
n-
let's
nine
go.
1966 until 1988, it ran every year on CBS. And then Turner got it from there, and they would run it on TNT, TBS. Eventually, when it moved to Cartoon Network, the WB was playing it every year for a couple of years. ABC started running it in like the mid 2000s. Um, I always remember watching it on CBS like every year, and that's where we recorded it from. But this was created. So Chuck Jones talked about the TNT version would be an hour long because they would play the show and then they would do a half hour special afterwards of a making of, originally hosted by Phil Hartman, which shortly after, because I don't remember what year that was, but after Hartman's death, they cut that and they ended up replacing him with somebody else a couple of years later. They like reshot some of those. And I watched it earlier today because I hadn't seen that in 20 years or something. That was hilarious because Hartman is in a full tuxedo and he's got his hair slicked back and he's just going full Phil Hartman, like over the top character, and it's really really great. But they talked to Chuck Jones, they talked to Ted Geisel's wife in that. They talked to Thurl Ravenscroft, and they show pencil tests and all this kind of stuff about taking the book and making it into an animated thing because the book, Chuck Jones said, was like 12 minutes long. If you took the book as written and animated it was only 12 minutes, so they had to pad that out a little bit. So that's where you get kind of the middle part where, and everybody knows the story of how the Grinch stole Christmas. It's a very simple little story. The Grinch just doesn't like Christmas, goes down into the town at night and steals everything. But like going down the mountain, down Mount Crumpet, was all added in. All the stuff with Max, the dog, who honestly is like my favorite thing in this whole.
It's real
whole
good.
In
special
any
is Max.
rendition of the Grinch, Max is the show stealer.
I mean, the part right, like when he puts the antler on his head and he just like tips over. Have you ever seen when people try to put like little rain boots on a dog and then they just like keel over and they can't do it? It's the same energy, right? Like that's absolutely what would happen. Is it's just let it happen, I guess.
I laughed out
Here we
loud at
go.
that because that was just, I don't know if it was just the timing or I was brought back to Looney Tunes. Definitely watch it because of Chuck Jones. That was what I grew up with. That was my animation hero. All those you're watching Merry Melodies or Looney Tunes in the morning before school, and it was animated by Chuck Jones, and I didn't really remember that he did the Grinch until I saw some of those things. I'm like, those are Wile E. Coyote eyes. Like this is kind of what we see. It all stood out. It's neat watching it as an adult with like the knowledge of who's behind it and kind of seeing how that ties together. But man,
There's
I
a lot more
had a blast.
Jim Halpert looking at the camera than I remembered there being.
So, and that was a Chuck Jones thing. Like he did that with, I mean,
Wile E.
Porky Pig
Coyote
did it,
constantly.
Wile E. Coyote, all of it, because he was a huge fan of Laurel and Hardy.
Right.
And that was a Laurel and Hardy bit, so he would always put that into his things. And I love that. I do that myself, walking like in my daily life. I have a camera that follows me everywhere, invisible, and no one else can see it. But when something weird happens, I will side eye that camera.
I like
so
that
when
there's
I
a
see
Truman
that-
Show playing in your head at all times where you are the star.
And honestly, all of it comes from Chuck Jones animation.
Yeah.
His cartoons, because I was the exact same way growing up. I watched so many Chuck Jones cartoons, and I knew he did this back when I was like in junior high and into high school. And my sister was getting into drawing and all that kind of stuff, so she idolized Chuck Jones. And like Max is such a Chuck Jones creation in this special. Like he's all those beats, and like the way he would use music to enhance all of the action that's going on. Like the sound when they tie the horn on Max's head and he tips over, that music, and then the violins to cut the antler off and all that kind of stuff. It's like it's so good. And then so you get Ted Geisel writes this book, and then Chuck Jones comes along and says, let's make it into an animated special, and he starts drawing it. And I love the fact that Geisel, the first time he saw sketches, he's like, that doesn't look like the Grinch. It looks like you. Because the Grinch from the book looks very different from what Jones
Yeah.
drew. And part of
Mhm.
that was Chuck Jones said, look, everybody has a little Grinch in them, right? Like
Oh,
everybody
that's good.
hates Christmas on some
Yeah.
level.
Mhm.
And so he kind of he attached himself to that character a little bit. But then they bring in Boris Karloff to do
Why
the
did
voice.
this is on the level of putting Michael Caine in a Muppet Christmas Carol. We didn't have to go this hard,
Mhm.
but I'm really glad we did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Boris
And
Karloff, what
Mhm.
are you thinking?
Brilliant.
and that
It's
was
brilliant.
it is brilliant. And that
It
was
is on
another
the
thing that
surface ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
the
yeah.
dumbest idea, and
Well,
it's
Mhm.
so
and
good.
and Ted Geisel would agree with you because he was like, I don't think Boris Karloff's the right person to do the voice. He's going to be too scary.
I
But
mean,
Chuck
if you
Jones,
look at his credits, I
Yeah.
feel like
yeah.
that's a reasonable expectation.
But that was one of the things Chuck Jones said in that special that he didn't want anyone else to come in to read for the Grinch at all because he wanted Karloff. And there was the way Boris Karloff, because there's a certain cadence to Seuss and his writing,
Hmm.
a lyrical quality to it, and he wanted Boris Karloff for that. The way he read it was just so perfect, and it was the absolute right move because Boris Karloff is just brilliant in this. And then they did a little post production to his voice, so they recorded everything, and he did just one voice throughout it as the narrator and the Grinch. And then they went back and took all the highs out of his voice for any line readings by the Grinch himself. So his
Mhm.
voice is just a little bit lower and a little bit gravelier, and created those two different voices that way. Um, and amazingly, and this blew my mind when I read it. So they put out a couple of years after the special, they put out an album of the music and a reading of it,
Mhm.
which won Boris Karloff a Grammy for
What?
best spoken word short story thing, whatever.
Heck yeah.
Sure, why not?
Well
Um,
deserved.
so he got a Grammy for spoken word, and it was the only major award of his career,
Dang.
That's bonkers.
which doesn't make any sense to me.
No, a career that long, you expect him just a handful of things. Like, come on.
I just
Hmm.
I just want to Boris Karloff was born in 1887. I just want to like lay that out there real quick.
Jeez Louise.
Boris Karloff was born in 1887.
Holy
What?
moly.
Wow.
Amazing.
There
Um,
you go.
so we had Boris Karloff reading it, and then you bring in Albert Haig wrote the music. He wrote all the music for this, and the music in this is just brilliant. There's three songs. There's the Welcome Christmas,
Mhm.
which is just this beautiful song, which is fake words
Oh yeah.
and to sound like Latin. And people were writing in after the special, being like, "Can we get a translation of that?" Because they thought it might actually be Latin. I love that. Um, but he also wrote what's the not, there's not Welcome Christmas and what's the third song? Because there's You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. We'll
Hmm.
get
It's
to that here in a second.
the one where they're decorating.
Yeah,
I
Trim Up
can't
the
think
Tree,
of
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
trim
yeah,
up the
yeah.
tree.
Yeah, trim up.
which
Which let me tell you, if I had to describe like my perfect Christmas aesthetic, it is Whoville chic. Like that is what I
Mhm.
want. I
Yeah.
want yeah. I want
Big
all of
light
those things.
bulbs.
But then like you have to store them somewhere is the
Yeah.
reality of the situation that I am coming to grips with.
Mhm.
Yeah. If I had an attic of holding, then that would
Yeah.
be fine. Like, if
Mhm.
we just
Yeah, garland on
dimensional pocket
everything.
with all
Yeah.
my stuff.
Well,
For
the way the
sure.
Grinch stole everything, that apparently exists because all you got to do is roll up a carpet and it's all in there. And just
Yes.
stuff it,
That's
stuff
real
it in a
good.
bag.
That
I'd
would
like
be
to get
great.
that
And
carpet.
Mhm.
Trim Up the Tree is great because it's a Christmas polka,
That's awesome.
which is just genius. Like, name another Christmas polka. You
I
can't do
guarantee
it.
Weird Al must have one.
Oh, come
He
Surely.
on.
might,
Yeah.
Surely.
Sure, yeah.
but certainly in 1966 there weren't
No,
any
no,
others.
No,
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 no.
this was a unique thing.
No,
back
you were at the
Very much.
Polish Hall eating kielbasa to hear a polka.
then.
Yes. And of course, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, which is one of the greatest songs
Oh,
ever.
good.
It is fantastic. Like I said, growing up, I had recorded it off of TV, so I was missing the middle section and then the first half of the third section that they play in the special.
You
So it
never
wasn't
heard
until like the late.
You never heard the 3-decker sauerkraut and toadstool sandwich? Wasn't
With
that in the
our
middle
No.
part?
They had me at
That was.
they had me at sauerkraut, and then they lost me at toadstools.
Toadstool
and
with
arsenic.
arsenic
Yeah.
sauce. I love.
Mhm.
Right.
If you didn't get it from my intro, I love every description of the
It's so
Grinch.
good.
They are wonderfully done, and I think they're the best part of this whole movie.
And they were from the mind of Dr. Seuss, and he came
Yeah.
up with those, and he'd tell them to Albert Haig, and he would write the music, and then you get Thurl Ravenscroft, Tony the Tiger, to sing it,
Mhm.
which is unreal. And what I love about Thurl Ravenscroft, number one, greatest name in the history of TV.
Right.
It's really good.
It's awesome.
Like,
Yeah, if he lived in a castle, we'd all be really afraid.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right?
But also, when you would see interviews with him, he sounded exactly like that all the time.
That's what's crazy.
It's amazing. It is the most velvety, deep voice you will ever hear. And it was just like, and he, in the special, he even talks about like when people find out that I did the voice of Tony the Tiger, they're always just like, can you do it? Can you do the thing? And he's like, and he just does. He would say, they're great, and that was it. But he
Give me $10. I'm in the union.
right. So they get him in, and he sings the song. Now, originally, and if you watched the credits, his name is nowhere in the credits.
No.
And that was either a contractual thing at the time, I don't remember, or if it was just an oversight. But when Ted Geisel found out about that, he called Thurl Ravenscroft, apologized to him, and then sent out letters to publications all over the country saying, look, this is the guy that sang the song. Credit him. He deserves that.
Mhm. Wasn't Karloff
because-
getting some of the credit for that?
Yes. Yeah, some people were assuming that Karloff did because it says, the voice of the Grinch, and he read it too, which is, I do like the credit for Boris Karloff, the way they do that in the beginning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Thurl Ravenscroft ended up doing a couple more of the Dr. Seuss stuff later on. He was in Horton Hears a Who, which was the next one done, and also a Chuck Jones. And he also came back for the Lorax in 19, whatever that was, 72, I think.
I loved Horton Hears a
72.
Who. Horton Hears a Who was like, that was my tape that I played all the time.
That's a good one.
Good stuff.
Honestly, like Grinch, Horton Hears a Who, The Cat in the Hat, and the Lorax, those four are all solid ones. I really, really enjoyed those. But yeah, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch is just, I love the song. And now that I've spent the last, whatever it is, 26 years with the full uncut version at my disposal, I'm used to the song now.
Yeah.
It just took me a few years to get to
You
that.
hear it wrong, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, I don't.
Well, so I think they used to play it on the radio. Like we used to, the
Oh, yeah.
local radio station used to do the Christmas songs, and you could call in and talk to Santa, which was great.
Mhm.
It's my favorite Christmas story. I'm gonna derail everything and tell my favorite Christmas story
Please
real
do.
quick.
Go for it.
So it was Christmas Eve. It's Christmas Eve. And my little sister decided she wants to call Santa on the radio. We have a tape of this. It's great. Now, first of all, we didn't know my sister had to go to speech therapy. And we didn't know why. Like that was where it was like, my parents were always like, oh, okay. And then years later we hear this tape and we go, ah. So she calls up Santa. Well, my mom calls and says, Santa, Amanda wants to talk, Amanda would like to talk to you. So Amanda gets on the phone and she goes, hi, Santa. Okay, great. So he asked where, because we live in Natick, which is down the Mass Pike, and it's like a whole thing, and he makes a whole joke about it. And so he says, all right, what would you like for Christmas? And my sister says, a bicycle. This is the first that anyone has heard of her
No.
wanting a bicycle on Christmas Eve. And she has just told Santa directly. And it's my favorite Christmas story.
gosh.
So now she has a daughter of her own, and I am waiting with bated breath for it to all fall apart for her.
What
I-
did the bike did
The
we?
bicycle happened. Oh, it
Oh
happened.
my goodness! I
It
would
happened.
I
There
would
was a
tear.
Sears.
Yeah.
We lived down the street from like the big mall, and there was like a Sears there.
Oh,
So,
great.
you can get anything at Sears.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
she
Yeah.
did
but
get her
still, like
bicycle. Oh
Yeah.
to
yeah,
find
Christmas
out
Eve.
on Christmas Eve, as a parent, you would just be like,
The
"Oh
panic.
hell!"
The panic.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Just
And
break out in a flop sweat right
Yeah,
there.
there's
for sure.
one Christmas where the boys sat on Santa's lap and told him what they want, and they were like, "What'd you tell Santa?" It's like, "I just told Santa. Nobody else needs to know." We're like, "Well, why don't you let mommy
I
and daddy
mean,
know to make sure?
you
Okay,
could just tell us.
Yeah.
please."
That way we know if we have to move presents, we know
Yeah.
whose they
Mhm.
are.
It's not a birthday wish, kid. You can say it out loud to other
Yeah.
people.
You can tell everybody.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh,
Yeah,
There
I
you
would
go.
tear up the universe to find a bicycle. Like if that happened, I'd
Right?
be like, I don't care if I
Mhm.
have to steal it. I will go full
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger Turbo Man doll. Like I'll jingle all the way. I'll be like, I will
Now,
steal a
to
bike.
to his credit, the radio DJ that was doing Santa did say, "I'll see what I can do." So,
Good,
like,
yeah.
Man.
way to be non-committal.
I
Yep.
think
Very
that's
good.
that's a mall
You
Santa
got to. Yeah.
phrase you just
Yeah.
use. Because
Yeah.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
got the kid up there. They're not getting a
Yeah.
rock'em sock'em robot, but they want one. You just gotta be like, I'll see what I can do.
Let's see what I can do.
Yeah,
We'll talk to the elves. I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
getting late.
yes.
Um,
Workshop doesn't
one
have the
more
parts.
name. Yeah, one more name I have to mention because we talked about her just a few weeks ago. June Foray
Huh?
was the voice of Cindy Lou Who. She's popped up a few times now for us on this show, which is great. And her and Dallas McKinnon are the only other vocal people in it. Dallas McKinnon was Max. He did all the Max noises.
Not Frank Welker. I was expecting Frank
Yeah.
Welker.
No, amazingly, this would have been he would have been really young here.
Too
Still,
early.
Gonna
so
say.
just slightly before his time. So I want to know, first of all, the first thing I want to know is, and I'm going to start with Amy on this. Do you have a favorite during the Grinch's like stealing of everything? A favorite moment during that? Because I have
Um,
one. I know.
I like when he slithers. I think that's real
Mhm.
good.
Yes,
Yep,
that is
it's real
a
good.
great moment.
That's probably my
'Cause
favorite part.
that is all of this is classic Chuck Jones, but like that with just
That and
him.
then the umbrella tree.
That's so
He
See,
goes
good.
out to the
Yeah.
Christmas tree and he lifts it
Mhm.
up like an umbrella and folds it.
I want a
Yeah.
tree that
That
does
one's
that.
mine.
That would actually
Yeah.
be ideal, quite frankly.
Yeah.
That one there is mine. I love every time I see that. It never fails to be good for me. Stephen, how about you? Do you have a favorite
I
kind of moment when he's
love
taking stuff?
Yes, I love the monkey bars across the wreaths when he swings across them like whenever they then steals them all. That's my favorite.
Going from house to house.
Oh yeah, easy. I just love he's just so graceful and he's living his best life taking everybody's stuff. It's just amazing to me.
Yes. Audie, what one was your favorite?
My favorite was when he took those very long, slender candy canes from the kids' hands as they were sleeping.
They're real good. The big candy canes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is a candy company near they have a couple locations, but there's one right up near my parents, and they are the longest, like the oldest continuously running candy company in the country. And you can get some serious like hand pulled candy canes there. And they're
Mm,
real good.
Road trip.
Yep.
yeah.
And what's great about that particular one too is there again is that use of music to enhance the moment with the way they use the music as he's getting the candy canes. And of course, the third candy cane is my favorite because he just kind of nudges it until the Who
Mm-hmm.
she moves and curls up. I just so good. Yeah, there it really I mean there's not much to say about it plot wise at all. But I do also really like the moment of realization he has on the mountain and the way the animation is done where it's the background is just a color and it's just this rotating color as his eyes go from red to blue and you get all of that and Karloff just kills it here. It's so good. But then all of the scrambling up the mountainside to save the sleigh after that point is some of my favorite stuff ever because
Mm-hmm.
he's just digging into the ground and throwing snow back onto Max as he's running, and it kills me. The whole thing. I had a giant smile on my face the entire time I was watching this today. I could
Yeah.
not stop grinning while watching this. It's just it takes me right back to my childhood, and it is honestly I have since probably about the age of 12 uh, made my like five favorite Christmas movies, and this has always been on the top.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say that it could ever be supplanted, mostly because now it's just nostalgia more than anything. But it's just good all the way through, and it's a great little message
Yeah,
too.
it's so well done. Like, there's things I really love about. Like, I love the way the Grinch smiles, and he keeps smiling to the point his ears or like the hairs on his
Mhm.
head like curl.
Mm-hmm.
That
Oh, it's
just
so
tickled me.
good.
Like, I love that. I know they reused a lot of the scenes over and over, like the bags coming up the chimneys, like
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
the
It
same
doesn't
shot
matter.
over and over.
Mhm.
But I don't care. It
No.
really didn't matter. Like, I loved him slinking around, like you were saying. It just does.
Yeah.
It's basically it's like having the Christmas Carol without the ghosts in it. And you're just like, your grumpy old man wants to stop something and then is happy at the end. It's kind
Yeah.
of a
Mm-hmm.
well-known, well-trodden path for a character finding redemption, but it's just such a fun way to do it. And you don't hate him for some reason. Like, you watch him sell this stuff and you're entertained. You're not going like,
Yeah.
I can't believe he would do that. You're just like, what?
I
Look at
mean,
him
now, like
roll up
when
the stuff. Yeah.
at the beginning, right? When he's talking about his problems with Christmas, like now I'm just going, oh, he's just a
Oh, I get it.
neurodivergent with auditory issues. Like I get it. He
Mm-hmm.
has solved his problem the wrong way. We're
Mhm.
not
Yes.
gonna give him like a pass on that. But his issues are not his fault, but they are his responsibility. And so like he needed to not steal all of their stuff, but also I do get it. I
Yeah.
do.
Mm-hmm.
When they
That's
were
a lot of
playing
noise.
when they were talking about the noise and he just kept going, it was instrument after instrument after instrument. I'm
Yeah.
like, I now pity him. I now
Yeah.
understand.
Because
Mm-hmm.
they're in
I
like
would steal
a
Christmas
valley
too.
bowl, right? Like that valley is a bowl. It's just gonna echo.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be good up there.
Yeah. I'm at an
It doesn't
age now
matter that
where I'm
he's
like,
10,000 feet
yeah,
up.
I don't
No,
want that.
it's gonna echo and
It was wild though, watching this after not having seen this version for so long. It's like, and seeing the Wikipedia talking about how they had to pad out this special
yeah.
from the book, and I'm like, good gosh, thinking about the way they pad out the movies they've made of it and how
Oh
much
yeah.
more they've thrown into it and stuff, and just
Yeah.
being like, it's such a simple story and it doesn't need all that to work.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
just turned it into a heist. They turned those into heist films, you know,
Mhm.
heist films with heart. And that works for me. Like, I don't
Yeah.
hate the most recent Grinch. Some of that is like because that was the first movie we ever took Sam to see. It was the Benedict
yeah.
Mm.
Cumberbatch fully animated Illumination
Yeah, I
one.
haven't
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
that
yeah.
one yet.
It has a
I
little
dig
bit
that
of
one a lot.
I like it a lot. It's got a little bit of that illumination about it, but like you know,
Sure.
fart joke situation. But no, it's still really great. I love it a lot
Mhm.
because it's still got that spirit. They just give you a
Yeah.
little bit more Cindy Lou Who and stuff to really feel for it, you know, and they flesh it out
Yeah.
nicely.
Well, again, it's padding out the story to fill up, 120 minutes of animation.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's good. I think
Hmm.
they stand next to each other fine. Like I watched this with my kid, which was really eye opening because he was not super into this like at all. But he's very particular about his animation. And he's like, "There's just too many lines on everything." I'm like, "What are you even talking about?"
And you're like,
Uh,
yes, because these people actually did it all by hand.
Yeah, they all
yeah,
drew, and this
buddy.
was the style at the time and stuff. But it's interesting to watch because he loves to do art, so he's been like trying to practice drawing things that he likes and stuff. And this was not something he liked, so it was fun to watch with him and figure out like what is. And we immediately wanted to watch the new Grinch after this, though. So it did inspire
Sure.
him to want to keep going. He's like, I just think I like the new one better. I'm like, I get it.
But
Okay.
there's also
Great.
something to be said about a style of the time, and it is
Yeah.
definitely a style of
sure.
the time for all kinds of cartoons and animations and comics and stuff. And we've come so far since that
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that
sure.
like, you know, that's where I forgive my kids for not getting into this stuff. Like it's fine. You're
It's
into
for
your
me.
And I
stuff,
think
and that's fine.
Yeah.
right, and like we grew up with Chuck Jones animation, so
Mhm.
seeing this is the animation style that I saw from the time I had memory until
Mhm.
now,
Right.
Yeah.
and I love it because of that. I love Chuck Jones' style, but I understand for Sam, like it's so different from what he's grown up with.
Yeah.
So, um, I also liked the trivia bit that the color, because the Grinch in the book is black and white,
Yeah.
so there's
Oh,
no
yeah.
defined color for the Grinch. And in the special, Chuck Jones decided to go with that color of green, and according to what I read, the reason was every rental car he would get in the Washington, Baltimore area would be that same color of green.
Pea
And so he
soup
just
green.
decided that should be the color
Take it as a
of the
sign.
Grinch.
Sure.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
I got a kick out of that. Um, I do. I love You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, and there is a wonderful cover of that done by a rock band called the Small Town Titans. That if you ever get a chance to listen to, I'll post it for you guys because you got to listen to it. But it is, it takes the song, which is a very simple structure of the song, and the vocalist goes a lot of places with it. He has a lot of fun inside of that, and it is probably now my favorite version of it that isn't this one. Like it's basically Thurl Ravenscroft and Small Town Titans, and I don't care about any other one at this stage in my
Sure.
life. So I'll definitely play that for you. But that was one I discovered a couple of years ago, and now it's like Christmas season begins by me playing "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." So there is that as well. But yeah, this is a Christmas staple for a lot of people, and definitely is for me. I can't go a December without watching this. This was in the very first year of Wait You Haven't Seen. I made people watch this for Christmas. I'm like, I'm doing this one, and
You found someone who
I
hadn't
might try.
seen it? How did you do that?
I don't know. I still am not sure how that worked.
That's
but I did.
amazing.
I think I'm going to maybe at some point actually watch that newer one with Benedict Cumberbatch because I haven't seen that yet. I've seen the
Yeah.
Jim Carrey version.
Oh yeah,
Which I
you
really
need to
like.
watch it.
I really like the Jim Carrey version.
I do. I mean, I've got a soft spot for Ron Howard films. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and like Jim Carrey is about the only person I could think of that
Right,
could be
right.
animated enough to do that,
Yep.
especially under all that makeup.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
So, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to say about this. Really.
You
What was
just
my
need
other
to
note
dig up
here?
3 more minutes so we meet the podcaster minimum of time we can talk about a thing.
So is this okay, Steven? Here's a question for you.
Sure.
Have you seen other Dr. Seuss specials? Have you seen some of the other ones that
Specials.
have come out? You said Horton Hears a Who.
Horton Hears a
you did.
Who was the big one that I watched as a kid a lot. And
Okay.
then there was this one.
Would
But I don't remember any other specials that come to mind. I read a lot of Dr. Seuss. I learned how to
remember-
read on I Can Read With My Eyes Shut because I had a cassette
Mhm.
tape that came with that book. And I remember
Yeah.
learning to read it with my eyes shut, and I didn't realize that was just called memorizing. But
I
I'd
mean,
totally
it's the
sit there.
same. I mean, it's that's how you
I'm
get
like,
from point A to point
watch
B.
what I could do. I spent forever. I was a bored little kid. It was great.
Do you have a favorite Dr. Seuss book?
Oh, it's not a Dr. Seuss book. That one's not fair. Man, The Places You Will Go is a popular one for like ever. That's one you give your kid when they turn 4 or
Yeah.
whatever, and then you give it to them again when they graduate high school. That's a good
Yeah.
Yeah,
one.
but it's a good one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
it's a very good one.
I did get it when I graduated high school.
Yeah,
for
it is.
sure.
It's a good
Mhm.
one.
Audie, do you have a favorite Dr. Seuss book?
Mine's probably One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, just because
Oh,
it just keeps getting zany throughout that whole book.
Mm-hmm. That That was one my grandma had. A lot of Dr. Seuss at her house that I would
Mhm.
read as a kid.
Mhm.
Amy, how about you?
Um, my favorite book as a kid was not Dr. Seuss. Oh, I liked the Things You Can Think. So here's my Dr. Seuss
Yeah.
story. I have a story for everything. So
Yay.
in the Things You Can Think, there's a line. What would you do if you met a Jaboo? Okay. So there was on my street down the block. There was this gnarled old tree, and I called it the Jaboo tree forever. Like it was just the Jaboo tree. And like within the last, we'll say decade, I did go drive by there and the Jaboo tree was gone. And
Oh
I was
no.
devastated. I just turned into the Lorax and like, here we are. Like, like what happened? Yeah. So probably other things you can think. I did not like the Cat in the Hat. I
Yeah.
did not like him I don't remember not liking him, but my mother tells me I did not care for the Cat in the Hat
The
at
chaos he
all.
causes
Yeah, I
upsets
didn't.
me to no
I'm
end.
not into
Yeah,
that.
like no,
I'm
please
not into
leave.
that.
Please leave
But
their
was
house.
very, was very one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard.
those
It's hard
are
for me to pick. Like I remember reading, like the place you would go means a lot to me now. But like as a kid, I don't know. Like
Oh yeah,
I read Hop on Pop. I read
Mhm.
I read the
green
ones
eggs
that
and
were like
ham.
Green Eggs and Ham.
Yeah.
I remember Go Dog Go, which is not a Dr. Seuss book.
That was my favorite book.
Yeah, it was my
So I
favorite
used to ask
book.
strangers if they were my mother.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
the other one. Was Are You My
yeah.
Mother? That
P.D.
was the one. But
Eastman
we did
wrote
the
those.
Do you like my hat? No, I do not
Yes.
like your
No,
hat.
I do not like your hat.
Goodbye.
Me and my
Goodbye.
cousin Bill would read Go Dog Go just
Yeah.
over and over.
Loved
We had
Go
nothing to
Dog Go.
do. We were just up in the front room at my grandma's house, and he could read and I couldn't, and we would just sit there and he would read it, and it just ignited my passion for reading. I know it's not Dr. Seuss, but Go Dog Go is legit.
Yep, for sure.
It's a good
Mhm.
one. I mean, I loved a lot of Dr. Seuss stuff growing up, whether it was, you mentioned Hop on Pop, Green Eggs and Ham, Star-Bellied Sneetches.
The ABC
Um,
book. Remember the the
Yep.
ABC
The
book?
ABC book.
Yeah.
Yep. I always liked the Lorax, and I really liked that animated special. There was
For that
something
animated
about
special.
that animated special that just really, I really, really enjoyed. I think
Truffle
because it
trees,
was,
right? Is that what truffle?
yeah,
Yeah.
I associate the Lorax and the Phantom Toll Booth animated
Oh my
thing
gosh.
together.
Mm.
Those
Phantom
two
Toll Booth. Yes, please.
kind of live together for me.
I grew up in a
But
family of forestry people, so I don't think the Lorax was popular because we were a bunch of loggers, OSB mill people. Like I
Kinda
don't
makes
even
sense.
recall knowing about that book till I was
Imagine
like 11. I think it was hidden from us.
It's propaganda.
Yeah, it was.
Also, yes, Phil in the chat does mention Fox and Socks. That was a good
Yeah,
one.
Mhm.
yeah.
And I did love One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. That
Mhm.
one, always great.
Hot fish, slow fish, stop fish, go fish. This is all right.
It's so great.
Amy's been activated.
Yeah.
I like when my sleeper cell just clicks on and I'm like, let's go. I mean,
So
all my friends had kids and I've got my little niece and,
Mhm.
sometimes you got to
Oh
just
yeah,
pull this stuff out of your back pocket at a
Yeah.
moment's notice.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
You never know.
You need it on recall.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that is Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It is the greatest Christmas film ever made, and I will die on that hill. And yeah. Now, Steven, you've got something coming up. Here
I
soon.
do. Thank you for asking, Travis. So on Friday, if you're listening to this now, that's Friday, December 8th, the Two Dorks Legion of Dorks is putting on our charity drive for 2023. So we'll be starting at 8 a.m. Collecting money for the Marine Toys for Tots Foundation, as we do every year. Last year, we made $2,155 for the Marine Toys for Tots. Would love to get either that, past it, whatever. Our goal is $2,000. So if you have money to spare, that donation link is live currently at twodorks.net/toys. You can donate now. You can donate later. You can donate after the stream. But it's really cool to watch your donations come in while we're streaming live and we can do stuff. Also, Squats for Tots is making a return around the 10
Yeah.
a.m.
That's-
block.
that is when you want to donate.
That's when you
is
want to
during
donate.
Squats for Tots.
Every
Let's torture
$5
Steven
is-
and Smashy.
Every $5 of a donation equals 1 squat. Last year we had to do 207 squats. It hurt a lot, and I expect to be hurt more this year. So come at me. I am not prepared.
Excellent. You'll be walking down the stairs backwards.
Yeah, again. Yeah, just rolling down them. Really.
Yeah.
I'm just telling Stephanie, bring everything to me now. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
moving.
I need food, sandwiches. I'm not getting up. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Excellent. Now we're going to continue rolling on the month of December and Christmas holiday centered stuff. Audie, where are you taking us next time?
Well, look, we've had our specials, but sometimes you just gotta watch some regular old TV because it can't be all
sure.
specials. So next week we will be doing Wings,
Oh
season
my
5,
goodness.
episode 11. Happy holidays,
Outstanding.
and you can find that on
Wings.
Prime Video, and I think Paramount Plus as well.
Get ready
So-
for way more New England facts. Just
Yes.
I want you to brace yourselves now
Excellent.
for more New
right.
England facts.
Holy cow, Wings. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait. That's going to be super, super fun.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what's coming up next week. We're going to watch Wings. This is great because I don't think I've watched Wings in like 25 years. But I watched a lot of Wings 25 years ago.
Mhm.
So
It went off
cool.
the air and I never saw it again.
basically. So if you want to send us a message, you can do that. We love getting emails at thosewerethedays@gmail.com. Stephen, do you know if we got anything this week?
I did check the email. We did not have any new emails at thosewerethedayshow@gmail.com this time. But I'd love to see something about either the Grinch or Wings for next time, or even an older episode. I don't give a flip. Send us email about whatever you want.
We also are on Twitter as those days show. And we did get one reply there from our friend Kurt, real VO by Kurt, and he posted a video of himself from this year singing
Oh my.
"You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch" in a little
Kurt.
production, and
Hurt.
he's on stage with a bunch of people and he's singing it, and it's amazing. So definitely go.
Excellent.
We got to check that out, and thank you,
Yeah.
Kurt.
Kurt. Kurt singing Grinch is like Boris Karloff plus. Excuse me, Ravenscroft. Whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in.
But yeah, send us your feedback. We will love to hear from you. If it doesn't have to be the current show, you can anything that we've done. Send us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. And I'm going to close us out with some words from the one and only Ted Geisel. Welcome, Christmas. Bring your cheer. Cheer to all whose, far and near. Christmas Day is in our grasp, so long as we have hands to clasp. Christmas Day will always be just as long as we have we. Welcome, Christmas, while we stand, heart to heart and hand in hand. Woohoo!